Hey guys, this is Rainwolf from Convention Video.
I'm back. This is Kirito Silverheart.
And this is Asuna Silverheart.
And this is Lyria.
Just a heads up on why the delay for episode 6 of SAO War, the Underworld. We had some recording issues. Our bot that we normally have, or we use, because we do most of our recording on Discord, went down, and there was some fighting between the bot and the server. So we used the secondary bot, and it ended up becoming crap. So here we are.
Round 2.
3-4 days later, and we're trying again with our discussion of SAO War of Underworld episode Memories.
So we have the opening scene where Kirito's in the classroom. He goes down the hall. He feels like he's forgotten something.
And there's a lot of different little things. There's nuances and things that pop up. It's like we discussed. There was the screen, the big screen that actually had the advertisement for SAO, the original, 2022. We've built a virtual world, and then you start to see all the different people.
Yeah, as he's walking through the crowd, he walks right by Alice and doesn't even see her. And then when he's on the train, he moves to get off the train. You see Yujiro behind him. Kind of a nice little intro into where this is going to start heading.
Yeah, and it's kind of nice that they kind of use those two people that he's built a connection with so recently.
Yeah, it really goes to the idea of short-term versus long-term memory.
I never thought about that.
Yeah, that's something I didn't think about either until looking back at it in retrospect over the last couple of days, waiting to re-record.
And then as he's getting off the train, he's walking down the street, then the alley with his old guild,
the Moonlit Cats, and you hear a female voice call out Kirito, and he looks down and Sachi turns around. And that right there, that was the moment. And we're barely 30-40 seconds into the episode with the title of Memories, and the first thing he sees and actually notices is Sachi. I kind of have a feeling where this episode's going.
You knew it's going to be a sad time when you saw her.
It's still emotional even thinking about it now. Like, it was a very emotional moment. It definitely set the whole pace for the episode, the feels for the episode.
The pace they took to go through the memories was actually, because most of the time when you do a flashback series or something that's even titled Memories, they go every little detail that takes up pretty much the whole episode. But this time, for the flashback type episode they didn't do that, because by this point, you should know who Kirito is. You should know the things he's gone through.
It was it was kind of like a flash grenade of memories. And it was I think it was much more, not necessarily like the memories and the things you remember, oh, that was an awesome fight, or this is where he was amazing, or this. It was definitely an internal reflection for him. It was definitely the harder parts of the things he's gone through and the emotional turmoil. And I think it really did play into the fact that, this showed there is damage that is emotionally done to someone when they are emerged into a, virtual world over time.
Yeah.
That there is an emotional toll that's gonna, those
because
things
during
are
that
gonna take on
time,
you.
they were in there for about 2 years, if I remember correctly.
It was about 2.5, almost 3, I think.
Yeah, that in their time, and and not even just from this one though. I mean, even from the past, like before. Eincrad, all of them. I don't think it ever really showed fully. You knew there were emotional and hard times for each of the characters, but Kirito was always seemed like the solid, the rock.
You really see it through this episode. And there's a lot that happens before that, like Poe and the gang with the red players trying to kill each other or to stop each other from fighting.
Yeah, so Poe has used his dark influence to turn all the red players on each other, the ones that he could corrupt. We obviously see that Moonphase and Mai or May, have not been influenced by another mental attack.
No, because they've even before the whole situation with Yuna singing to knock out everybody else from this temptation, they had already registered. This is a Japanese server. This is not.
Yeah, they were enlightened. They were awoke to the truth. They realized, hey, this guy's bullshit. So now Poe's got all of them turning on each other, and he sets his eyes on Asuna. And it's, at first you think this is going to be just a bloodbath. And this could have been a really, really devastating moment.
I could have, but with the mentalization or visualization of Yuki appearing to push Asuna to get up from where she was at, even though with how worn out she was, to go after Poe to save Kirito.
Yeah, the first thing we see is, Poe's going on and on and on that he is going to just flood the battlefield with death and destruction, and he is going to force Kirito to wake up. And he picks up another person, which, if I'm not mistaken, that was one of the artificial Flucklight warriors.
Mm-hmm. It was one of the just regular soldiers.
Yeah, just one of the human Empire soldiers. Picks him up by the head and was getting ready to murder him. Asuna is completely defeated and broken, pretty much, and she just feels the embrace of Yuki around her. And Yuki lifts her up and says, "You can do this," and then she lunges at her and damn near takes his head off.
Oh yeah.
Like,
he got lucky with the ground, that one spot where his foot was at, that it crumbled and broke apart from the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's like her wings come out, and there's that.
Well, you're ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're ahead.
I mean, not too ahead, not too far, like a few seconds, but.
Well, but one of the big things is during this moment, Asuna lunges at him, almost hits him in the face. He dodges, goes to slash her in half. She breaks the ground.
Yes.
She uses her power of creation to break where his footing was and throw him off balance, and just takes a slash on the side.
And then you end up having where the blades are clashing together, and then Poe is while they're clashing close to each other with blades to blades, just face to face.
Let's not even just talk about the fact that originally it was blade to blade. This was sword tip, fine point sword tip to a razor's edge blade on his knife.
And then he goes into the discussion of what his blade stats really are.
Yeah, so back in Aincrad, back in SAO, when Poe was the leader of the Laughing Coffin Murder Guild, apparently his weapon had this attribute where if he killed random monsters, the stats and the durability of the weapon would go down. But if he slashed and or murdered other players, the stats would jump up. And he reveals to Asuna that he has figured out how this world works, the world of the underworld. And now he is using his weapon to auto-channel all of the death and soul and resource energy in that world around them in that battlefield. Yep. Which is, at that point, hundreds and thousands of, let's just call it souls, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
Whether it's the artificial Flucklights, it's the data left over from logged in players, from the different servers and things.
They still have life energy.
Yeah, it's all the life energy in that area is now being channeled into his weapon, and it is exponentially growing in strength, and as we have discussed off air, it looks like it's even growing in size.
Yeah. And he even makes the comment into her face before Yuki ends up pushing her and the gang starts shouting. It's like she wants Asuna to witness Kirito's death by his own hands.
Poe admires Kirito, which doesn't it seem like almost a retcon of what we learned in the last episode with his motivations?
Yeah.
Because in the last episode, he's talking about, I hate the Japanese, fuck the Japanese, I'm here to kill all the Japanese.
And now he's saying he basically, admires and loves Kirito.
Shit,
in a weird.
He says he's in love.
It brings him joy, because he can truly believe in him. And I mean, in a degree, I guess it does kind of retcon a few things, but I think it originally why his original motives were, and they've kind of evolved and changed maybe over time, because it went from, I want to kill the Japanese, I want to kill, these people, and well, here's the one I couldn't kill, or corrupt or, do anything too. But it's like, he says it, he's like, yeah, I love him. But he was like, he also says, I want him to come back. I'm angry he became this while I wasn't around and I'm not the cause of it. And I'm also going to bring him back just to have him die in my arms, to kill him and have him die in my arms. And he tells Asuna this, and then he tells her he's also going to keep her alive
so she can watch.
So she can watch him destroy everyone, which is just sadistic and cruel to me.
And that just pushed her. It did. She emotionally right now, she's like, how am I going to be able to do this? And then you got Yuki appearing once again, pushing her from behind. It's like, you've got this. Then you got Klein and
Agil, Liz,
Everyone.
Silica, everyone is cheering her on, saying, "You can do this." And let's not ignore the fact that when they were blade to blade and she was trying to defend herself, as she took a knee, her sword starts to crack.
Oh yeah.
And to me, that's not just a reflection of how much damage that she's taken, with her durability of her weapon and her gear and whatnot, but that's how worn down she is herself, mentally, spiritually, and physically.
The wornness on her and then the power that he's pulling from is even making it worse.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, like I said, I think this definitely, there's it's like you see, I felt like especially, the second season, I think Asuna fell into the damsel in distress kind of in a way.
Yeah.
But I think it's also, this is bringing it back. This is showing you how strong she really is again, and how much she'll fight and she will try and she will do for her friends and the people she cares about. I think that's important to see, and that's an important part of her character.
And with this pushing from the others, drawing out her true powers and abilities, she places a hole right through Poe's chest and 4 smaller holes.
That was beautiful.
It was fantastic. I mean, and we talked too about, Yuki, and we talked about, how it wasn't necessarily, it's not a manifestation. I didn't feel like it was a manifestation of her. I felt like it was more the memories Asuna had of her that were reflected and that gave her the strength. That's what I felt like it was. I felt like it was the memories that Asuna had of her, because this whole episode is entitled Memories. And those were the things that made this manifestation appear to Asuna.
Yeah.
And so that all came, and then that gave her the power to fight back, and it gave her the power to put the holes through his chest. All those bricks fell on him.
Oh, we got that one comedic brick that just
just plunk right in the back of the head.
Very well deserved brick.
And he's laying there. He's laying there under a
Perfectly
pile of
timed.
rubble. And it honestly, had that been the end of the fight right there, I could have been completely happy and satisfied with it.
I would have too. That would have been a great moment
Fitting.
for the. It's like everybody knows it, that she is the lover, the wife, pretty much, of the Black Swordsman.
Yeah, and again, she can stand her own. But I also love the duality of what happens with Asuna and Yuki in this moment, and during this fight, because it shows that her connection, her bond with Yuki,
Was so
is
close.
what gave her the strength to push through and do what needed to be done and win that fight. And we're going to see the duality of that here later in the episode.
Yeah, and right before it goes back into Kirito's memories, Poe gets back up and he's pushing the red players after everybody.
Yeah, so the dark influence spreads again, and they are trampling the battlefield. Asuna gets knocked over and trampled on. How Kirito didn't get stepped on, I'll never know.
No, because you have this kind of like this moment of hand to hand wanting to reach each other, but you can't. Then and as we get back into Kirito's memories, it's all the worst and bad moments of his past that he's gone through, but now having to relive once again, now that he's actually been able to push forward.
So as we saw in the last episode, Hyga initiated the link between his Fluct Light system, Asuna, Shinon, and Lifa. And so now he's starting to wake up, and he's starting to relive all these memories, and it starts with the single most traumatic event that he had to first deal with in Aincrad, and that was the death of Sachi and the Moonlit Cat. Seeing this scene all over again, it honestly brought tears to my eyes again.
Oh yeah.
Because you realize, yes, he had this reputation of being the badass solo beater.
But to have the connection, as far as we know, this is the first the female connection for Kirito, or opposite sex, or whatever you want to call it, for Kirito is pretty much his first time.
Yeah. And it doesn't necessarily have to show that it was a lover, perchance.
Yeah.
But he was defensive of her.
He
was
loved
protective
her.
of her.
He did love her.
Yeah, regardless of it. Yeah.
Yeah, even if it
what
was
kind
a
type
friend
of love
or a
it
sister
was.
or something.
Yeah.
He cared about her, and he wanted to protect her, and he vowed to protect her. And the fact that he wasn't strong enough to stop this situation from happening, and not only her, but everyone else in that room died, it's all on him.
Because if you remember correctly, before the SAO situation, he was a loner.
Yeah.
He never got attached to anyone, even his sister or his cousin that lived in the same house and grew up together with.
Yeah, he isolated himself from everybody.
And he intentionally tried to do that, and even after that, like when he goes into SAO, he still had that standoff. He assumed, and I think part of it was that he knew that if he got attached to people and they died, he couldn't handle it. That he couldn't, he'd
Yeah.
blame himself. So I think there was a part of him that felt like if I go alone, I'm responsible for just me.
But
If
also
I'm by
he did it
myself.
so that he could also save others.
Yes,
Yeah.
he
Because
wanted to save everyone, but he also wanted not to be responsible, hold that responsibility.
And then as we're going through this and these emotions that they take over, some of the things he did throughout the story of this series, some of the things he was not fully proud of on the way he did things.
Yeah, I mean, even fights like that with Death Gun during Sword Art Online 2 in the GGO universe. He regrets having to murder him, which in my opinion is interesting because this is a ruthless son of a bitch who isn't going to stop his path of destruction.
Yeah. Definitely the one for Aolo when he's saving Asuna.
Yeah, and I think that's honestly because he realizes that in order to actually beat this guy, he's going to have to be just as ruthless and
Play his
psychotic
own
as he
games.
is. Yeah, turn the pain sensor all the way up and just rip him until he's done.
And the thing is, even after that whole fight in the ALO world, with the pain receptors turned to max, he still came after him in the real world.
Yeah, in the hospital parking lot on his way to check on Asuna. But there's a difference in game, in ALO.
He's not going to die.
Yeah, he's
Even with the pain receptors.
Yeah, he knows that he's going to do some kind of physical, some type of physical damage or physiological damage to him. But at the same time, he knows he's not necessarily going to kill him in the real world. But in the real world, in that parking lot, in that moment, he comes at Kirito with a knife and tries to kill him. Kirito is able to disarm and defeat him, and he has that split-second decision of, do I kill this son of a bitch right here and now and ended this entire struggle and be like him, or am I the bigger man who walks away and leaves it to the law?
And he does exactly that, hands it to the law. But even in those memories that we have of him, it gets to the point where he's just ripping into his chest that he wants to die.
Yeah,
reliving these past moments.
Yeah, he rips open his clothes and then he just continues to go, and he is ripping his flesh. And I am devastated as I'm watching this because you never stop to think. Yes, he has been through shitstorm after shitstorm in every single one of these environments and universes that he's been in. And you never stop to think just how much of a toll all of his decisions in life has had on him.
You think of the toll, but not as much, because with having the connection, because even with the toll that there has been, having the people that he has been around with the whole time, that are how close they are, and them knowing the options he had to make or the choices he had to make through these situations, they are there to fully support him, to help him through those situations.
Yeah, it makes you realize that he doesn't always stop to consider the fact that a lot of the things he's done, he's had to do to protect the people he loved. Death Gun, for example. Death Gun was coming after Shinon next. And had he not confronted him with her help in that moment, she would have been next. But it still weighs on him, all the path of death and destruction that he's had to leave in his wake to protect the people he loves and himself.
Well, you also got to think, even looking, doing a little digging, Kirito is only 17 at the end of, or during this current arc.
Yeah, no 17-year-old, I don't care who you are, where you've lived and what situation you've grown up in, no 17-year-old is mentally equipped to deal with those kind of repercussions.
Exactly.
Definitely the SAO situations with dealing with Laughing Coffin. He's probably about late 15 into 16, give or take.
Literal child. And he's dealing with all of this.
And he knows he's actually murdering somebody. And then it goes into that, even with Asuna, Shinon, and Shugo showing up in front of him, it is not enough to bring him back to the torment he is reliving.
Yeah, he apologizes to each one of them individually and says, I'm not strong enough to stand up. I'm not strong enough to keep fighting.
That broke
I'm sorry.
me.
And he reaches into his chest and grabs his own heart. And Jesus Christ, you think right then and there, he is going to just crush it and be done.
And then we jumps over to Higa for a minute, that he noticed there's a fourth connection. And then it jumps back into the memories.
And that fourth connection Hyga even clarifies it is coming from an object inside the underworld. And if you pay close enough attention to the episode and you look at Hyga's screen, you realize just how close that connection really is to him, because it has the shortest signal length
I
on
did
it,
notice that.
Yeah.
which I thought was a great little tell to show, okay, we know what's coming next. At the end of the last episode, we saw a reflection in an item, and I'll just go ahead and say it was the broken
Yeah.
blue rose sword. We saw Yu-Gi-Oh's reflection in it, talking to Kirito.
It's like it's
And-
time.
And now, Aiga sees the fourth connection, and we jump back into Kirito's mind.
Then Irju's just standing there as a fragment, and it just bringing him into it. Definitely, if you notice, a lot of the ways he's walked through these paths, it's all the people he's like recently built a connection with or gotten closer with. Definitely with Yu-Gi-Oh, and Yu-Gi-Oh even regrets the decisions he's made because he wasn't as strong as Kirito.
Yeah, if you go back to the end of the first arc, after the fight with the administrator, when Yu-Gi-Oh dies in his arms, he even says, "I'm sorry, I wasn't as strong as you, I wasn't as cool as you, and I couldn't do what you did." He's like, "But I will always be with you, I will always be a part of you."
Because he told him, even when he was talking about Alice, that no matter what, the memories will always be here in the chest, or pretty much the heart,
Mhm.
Yeah.
for where he was pointing to.
It goes over that. It was, the last episode of the, first season, this season. It was when Yu-Gi-Oh dies, he tells him, he was like, well, remember, I'll always be here. And, that yet again is the part, I actually discussed it before. Like, I do feel like there's a bond, like there's a part of him a part of his flex light that not only did he put into the sword, but it's in Kirito.
Yeah, Irju even makes the comment that he left a fragment
Yes.
of himself on purpose.
Yeah, he doesn't know when or where it would be helpful, but he's always going to be there for him. In his moment of need, he would be there for him. And he was.
And he goes through his last doubts, and then he looks back to the four that are in front of him.
And he even asks Yu-Gi-Oh, is it okay for me to stand up? Is it okay for me to walk? And he's like, yeah, it is. There are plenty of people waiting on you.
And then it jumps over to the screen. Red Knight about to kill Asuna. Then all of them smell the scent of roses.
Mhm.
Enhance armament. Oh my god.
That AoE.
Oh my god. So you see Kirito laying on his stomach, Blue Rose, his hand on the handle of Blue Rose stuck into the ground.
He's not even fully conscious yet.
And
No.
all you hear is enhance armament. And this massive AoE bursts forth and freezes every enemy target in ice.
Yeah. Asuna had one of the red soldiers over her, about to put a sword through her.
Yeah, and he's just frozen.
And it just froze.
And then we have, even while Kirito's in the process of getting up, Poe is like thinking, oh, you're back. His mentor, Kirito's mentor, goes dashing in just to try to save Kirito because it's like, they see the state he's still in. He's not
battle ready. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's still laying there on the ground.
Yeah.
He hasn't fully recovered yet. He might be semi-conscious, but a thing that almost gets glossed over in that moment when he does the perfect weapon release.
Yu-Gi-Oh's also there.
Yeah, because you hear the dual voices. So
I did not notice that.
Yeah,
Oh.
if you pay attention to the audio track, you'll hear an overlay of Kirito and Yu-Gi-Oh's voices screaming enhance armament. Almost kind of like it's a trance.
I will have to go back and listen to that.
Yeah, almost like it's a trance moment. And then the AoE happens. Poe breaks free. He lunges after Asuna and Kirito. Asuna's trying to get to Kirito. He lunges after them. His mentor jumps in, gets bitch slapped.
And goes flying into Kirito's page and Asuna.
Mm-hmm.
And then as soon as he tries to dash at the three of them, a hand appears. And pretty much the words that come across the screen, I wish they did, or any other person's mind, access denied.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just
yeah,
a hand, a yellow barrier.
And Kirito slowly gets up off the ground and starts walking towards the barrier to right where in between Poe, Asuna, and the others. And as he's walking, his arm reforms, and he reaches up with the reformed arm and puts it in the exact place where the hand is. And if at first it almost made me wonder, okay, is that Yu-Gi-Oh projecting from him as he recuperates? But then I stopped and thought, no, that
Is
right
a
there,
swordsman's aura.
yeah, that is his own aura lashing forward to protect them, even though he can't physically respond yet.
Yes,
Which we saw evidence of when Bercoli himself tested that earlier in the season.
Yep, when he tried to do a mental push attack, or one of his invisible blades attack towards Alice.
Yeah, his arm reappears, and then he walks up and he takes his place there, holding it.
And then the words that come from Suna's mouth, Kirito-kun. Or pretty much, welcome back.
Welcome back. And we end the episode with Kirito just looking back at her and saying, I'm back, Asuna.
And that's it.
Holy shit. I cannot wait for the next episode.
Oh.
With how intense that episode, it was the perfect way to close it.
Yeah, because there's no way in hell you're going to get the awakening and the ultimate fight on top of Asuna's fight.
Yeah.
All in the same episode.
Oh.
That would have been systemic overload.
Oh, it would.
Everybody. So our next episode is going to be entitled Awakening. And I always point out, or at least I've pointed out over several of these podcasts, that the opening animation, if you're a fan of SAO, you'll notice the opening animations give a lot away. You know, go back to SAO 2 and you see when they're showing all the different characters, you see Shinon's real world friend that plays GGO with her, and then it swirls in the fire and you see Death Gun. Well, later in the episode, spoiler alert, you realize Death Gun is her friend, or part of Death Gun, I should say. But it makes me wonder, given the opening animation, and you see Kirito in his black swordsman, dual wielding this giant shadow figure, which we saw a glimpse of when Poe was releasing some of his negative energy. Are we referring to the awakening of Kirito? Are we referring to the awakening of Poe's inner chaos? Both? I mean, it's definitely going to be an interesting, and it's going to be a very intense episode, I feel.
Oh, yeah, this next one is. Is that the last thoughts from everybody?
I think so. I think I'm ready to see what else they have. And like I said, if this is like the swan song season, I mean, they've definitely delivered so far as it goes with,
They have.
you know, all the flashbacks, all the memories, you know, dealing, coping, working through everything, and just remembering everything from the past. And I mean, although this episode, it was a difficult episode, it was also beautiful in a way, and it was also, you know, especially at the end, very exciting. So I'm ready for the next one, whatever comes.
This episode was very painful, but it was also very hopeful, if that makes any sense at all.
It really does. And I mirror Lyria and Asuna's sentiments on the episode, and especially the swan song feel of the season so far. They've brought back so many elements from the previous seasons, even the ordinal scale movie, and they feel like they've given a lot of dangling threads closure so far. So it's just a matter of seeing what comes next. I mean, we still don't know exactly what's going on with Alice yet.
No, we
because
don't.
last time we saw her, she was flying off on her dragon, heading towards the world's altar. So it'd be interesting to see if she makes a reappearance at the battlefield or what happens. But I'm definitely looking forward to the next episode.
Same here. So before we close out, I would like to say that for any of that have been watching and leaving a like and even commenting, I hope y'all are enjoying this. What we are planning to do for the last episode, we are planning to do a live stream over on Twitch. So if you don't know what that Twitch is, it is Convention Video. We are working on getting affiliated as of right now, so that once this whole pandemic is over, there are a few ideas and that we may be able to do and be able to push and help the community a bit more. This is Rainwolf.
This is Kirito Silverheart.
This is Asuna Silverheart.
And this is Lyria.
I hope y'all enjoy. Leave a like, comment, maybe even subscribe, hit that bell button to stay up to date, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.